This is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet the Ghost Squish, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Please go to the link in the description or simply search mooglyblog.com Ghost Squish, and it should pop right up. To make this pattern, we'll be using an 8mm crochet hook. This one is by Susan Bates. I will also be using just over a ball of Bernat Blanket. I used the whipped cream colorway, but I'll be demonstrating in a different colorway today that's a little easier to see. I also used just a small amount of the coal color here for the mouth, but you can use whichever scrap black yarn you have laying around. You only need a small amount. To fill it, I used a 10-inch Microbead Pillow Ball, which you'll see a little bit later in the video, and there are several other filling options as well. All of them are linked in the pattern. I also used 2 safety eyes, 24mm. If you prefer, you can sew on your eyes, and you'll also want to have at least 1 stitch marker. You'll also need your standard crochet supplies of a yarn needle and scissors. The Ghost Squish is worked in 2 simple pieces. Our first piece is the majority of it. We start at the top and work our way down. We increase until we work even, and then we flare out for this pretty little skirt that sort of forms that ghost shape. This round right here, you can kind of see right there, that's worked in that front loop only. It leaves the back loop unused, where we're able to rejoin and add a little bit of a rim here. Our second piece is simply the belly or the bottom of our ghost, where we work a nice circle and then we can seam those 2 pieces together. Again, it is stuffed with a microbead pillow ball, but there are several options you can use, including standard fiber fill. Of course, before we add on that bottom, we do need to add that face. Again, I use safety eyes, but if you are giving this to a child under 3, you may wish to embroider on those eyes instead. Otherwise, that's it. There are a few notes for this pattern. The rounds are worked in a spiral, which means that you do not chain 1 at the beginning of a round or join any rounds with a slip stitch unless specifically directed in the pattern. You'll want to have your stitch marker handy and move that stitch marker along the first stitch of each round as you work so you can keep track of your progress. Otherwise, it's very easy to lose track of which round you're on. So let's go ahead and get started. To make our Ghost Squish, we start with the outer body, round 1. We begin by making a magic circle. So here's the end of my yarn. I'm going to come in a few inches here and go over my non-hook forefinger twice towards me. Once again, around that finger twice towards me. Then I'm simply going to slip my hook under both of those loops, grab that furthest one back, and slip it just under the other one. I yarn over and pull that loop through, and now my magic circle is locked together. To continue, I'm going to do my 1 chain 1 here to begin this row at the very beginning of our spiral, and then single crochet back into the ring. When we do this, we want to make sure we go through that loop and that we go under that tail end as well. You can see it's cut right there, so that we trap that right inside our stitch. So there's our single crochet, and that's our first stitch of the round. So this is where we want to grab that stitch marker and get that first stitch marked. Pull that loop back down to size, and now we need to put 9 half double crochets in this ring as well, for a total of 10 stitches in round 1. So we're simply going to go back into that ring and make sure that with each of these half double crochets that we work around that tail end as well. Having that tail end included in those stitches is what will allow us to close up our magic ring after we finish stitching round 1. So when you've got your single crochet and 9 half double crochets made for a total of 10 stitches, you'll be ready for round 2. So I've got my 10 stitches made for round 1, and before I begin round 2, I'm going to take just a moment and close up that circle. I can take this tail end that I've worked over in each of these stitches and just gently pull on it here, and as I do so, it will close up that circle. This is chenille yarn, so it does take a little bit of strength to pull it through, but you just want to do a little bit at a time so you don't accidentally break the yarn. Then, when you go to weave in your ends with your yarn needle, make sure that you weave it through the circle in both directions to really lock it in so it won't come back open. Then you're ready to begin round 2. Now you'll notice at the end of round 1, I did not join. Again, we're working in a spiral, which is why marking that first stitch is so important. We are not going to join with a slip stitch at the end of each round. Instead, we just start crocheting right into that first stitch. So for round 2, we're putting 2 half double crochets in each stitch around. We had 10 stitches in round 1, so this means we'll have 20 stitches in round 2. So I've put my first half double crochet in there, so it's time to move that stitch marker on up. And now we have marked the new first stitch of round 2. So I want to go back into that same stitch for another another half double crochet. And then we move on around with 2 half double crochets in each stitch. So this is what your ghost squish should look like after round 2. We are going to keep increasing and working in a spiral through round 9. So let's go over those repeats together. For round 3, our repeat is half double crochet in the next stitch. Remember, I did not join. I'm just going to half double crochet right into that first marked stitch there. Place my stitch marker in there now. And then 2 half double crochets in the stitch after that. 1, 2. That is our repeat for round 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around, stopping in that last stitch before your marked stitch for a total of 30 stitches. Our repeat for round 4 is a little different. When you've worked all the way around and it's time for round 4, the repeat is 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. So that would be your first stitch, 1, 2, and then half double crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1, 1. There we are. So that is your repeat. Oop, got a little tangled there. There we go. That is your repeat for round 4. 2 half double crochets, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, all the way around for a total of 40 half double crochets. For round 5, our repeat has half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So that would be 1, 1, and 1. So half double crochet in those next 3 stitches, then 2 half double crochets in the stitch after that. 1 and 2. So that is our repeat for round 5. 1, 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 1, 2. Again, all the way around for a total of 50 half double crochets. When you get to round 6, the repeat becomes half double crochet in the next stitch, 2 half double crochets in the stitch after that, 1, 2, then half double crochet in the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. So you'll notice this one, we've got our singles sort of split up a little bit here. So we have 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. And we want to make sure every time we do that repeat, we start again here. 1, then 2, 1, 1, 1. 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, all the way around for round 6 until you have a total of 60 stitches. Round 7 is a little different. It's got its repeat sort of split up at the beginning and the end. The reason that the working 2 in 1 stitch moves around so much is so that we don't get a hexagon or an octagon or any of those shapes in here. We want to make sure to keep this nice and round. So for round 7, we start with half double crochet in the first 5 stitches. So 1, let's go ahead and mark this one. Keep it a little easier because this one is a little unusual. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is not included in the repeat. That's before we get to our repeat. Then we have 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then we actually begin the repeat that takes us almost all the way around for round 7. Our repeat goes half double crochet in the next 9 stitches, then 2 half double crochets in the next. So it would be 9 singles, then 2, 9, then 2, 9, then 2. Then, after you've done that repeat all the way around, 4 stitches will remain before that marked stitch when you're back at the beginning. So let's go ahead. I think we've got room to do one of those repeats here. We'll half double crochet 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, whoops, 5, there we go, 6, 7, 8, get one in there, there we go, and 9. You can see I need to pull up a little bit more yarn on my skein here. Pull up some more of this beautiful aqua color. This is the color I used on my octopus squish that sort of started it all. There we go. So we've got our 9 single half double crochets, which means it's time for our increase. 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. So that is our asterisk repeat. 9 half double crochets, 2 in the same, then 9, then 2, until we get to the last 4 stitches that way we left at the end of round 7 there. So when we get to those last 4 stitches, we simply half double crochet in those last 4 stitches. Remember, we started with 5 and ended with 4. It adds up to 9. We've just split that repeat. So when you get to the last 4 stitches remaining in round 7, you just want to work a half double crochet in those last 4 stitches. Then you're ready for round 8. Round 8, much easier. Round 8 starts with 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and it jumps right into our repeat. So this begins our repeat. So round 8, we marked our first stitch, put another half double crochet in that same stitch. So there's our increase, and then half double crochet in the next 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Used up all my yarn again here. There we go. 9 and 10. So that is an example of your repeat for round 8. 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, then half double crochet in the next 10 stitches. At the end of round 8, you should have a total of 72 stitches. Round 9 is our last round of increases before we start working even. Again, it has a split increase, sort of a split repeat here at the beginning and the end. So we start with half double crochet in the first 8 stitches. So again, we want to make sure to mark the first one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then we put 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. 1 and 2. And then we're ready to begin our repeat that starts with the asterisk. This is a long one. Half double crochet in the next 17 stitches, then 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. I think you know what that looks like now. 17, then 2, 17, then 2, all the way around until 9 stitches are remaining. So it'll be 9 stitches left, and you'll just half double crochet in each of those 9 stitches. The 8 we started with, plus the 9 we finish with, adds up to 17 again, so that's our split repeat. At the end of round 9, you should have a total of 76 half double crochets. Rounds 10 through 15 are all the same, and they're worked even. What that means is we're simply going to put a half double crochet in each stitch around. You'll still want to make sure that you mark that first stitch, because with this little jog, like I say, it's very easy to get lost. But simply half double crochet in each stitch around for rounds 10 through 15. This means that for each of these rounds, you should have a total of 76 stitches. Now we're ready for round 16, and it will help to have another stitch marker available at this point. What we're going to do is we're going to be working front loop only half double crochets in each stitch around. So we're still working evenly, but we're only going to go under the front loop of each stitch. So if I take this stitch marker out of our way, we can take a closer look at the top of the stitch. It's a little harder to see in this fuzzy yarn, but there are 2 loops that we're all familiar with at the top of our stitch right there that we usually work under. The front loop is the loop closest to you, the crocheter. The back loop is the one that's furthest away. So now we just want to half double crochet under that front loop. So we want to bring our hook up in the middle of that stitch. So as I do that, I will go ahead and finish my first one here, and I'm going to mark the top of that stitch. We still want to keep that first stitch of each round marked, but I'm also going to put a stitch marker in that unused back loop of that stitch we worked into. That will let me know where to start when I make the inner rim of the body. So that one just stays put for now. To continue on around for round 16, we just front loop only, half double crochet in each stitch around. So after you've worked round 16, if you look inside, you can see that little ledge there. All those unused back loops. We'll be picking those up later. For now, though, we're going to go ahead and continue with the rest of our outer body. But from now on out, we go back to crocheting under both of those loops unless otherwise directed. So for round 17, we do another increase row. We go into that first stitch, and our repeat is half double crochet in the next 18 stitches, then 2 half double crochets in the next. Half double crochet in the next 18, 2 half double crochets in the next. I think you get the idea. At the end of round 17, you should have a total of 80 half double crochets. Then we get to move to round 18, which has the pleats that give this ghost its nice luxurious skirt. So what we're going to do is we're going to work the following repeat. Again, we're working in a spiral, so it jumps right into the repeat here. Let's go ahead and do this one together. We're going to half double crochet in the next 8 stitches. So again, we want to make sure that we go under both of those top loops unless otherwise directed, and that we move up that stitch marker to our new first stitch of the round. So there's our first one. Then we need to do 7 more. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can double check there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So much easier with that stitch marker there. Then we are going to back post half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So we yarn over, because it's a half double crochet, we find the next stitch right there. We've worked into this one, so here's the next stitch. We're going to come from behind and go right around the post of that stitch to the back of the fabric, yarn over, pull up our loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 to finish. So there's 1, and we do it again. Yarn over, come from behind around the next stitch to the back of the fabric, yarn over, pull up our loop, give that last loop a little bit of a tug there so it's easy to get through with all the rest, yarn over, and pull through all 3 to finish. So now we've made 2 back post half double crochets. So now we are going to turn and front loop only half double crochet in the top of the last 2 stitches. So these 2 stitches here, we worked around the post. Now we want to work under those 2 loops right here. When we're looking at it from this direction, they're the back loops, but we're going to turn and go here and then here. So now they're the front loops. So we're going to yarn over, and I'm going to show it as best as I can here on screen. It's a little tricky to get the right angle, but we want to just go right under that front loop of that stitch that we worked around so that there's still that loop back there. Let me pull that out again. There's that last back post half double crochet we made. So we turn and just go right under that front loop of the top of that stitch. Then we can yarn over and pull that loop up. And we are making half double crochets. So we yarn over and pull through all 3. And then we need to do that in the next one. So we yarn over. And if it helps, you can really just sort of fold that last stitch you made back, that back post half double crochet there. So you can get your hook right under that front loop right there. Yarn over and pull up your loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3. Now we're going to turn again. So we're working back from the outside of our ghost here. And we are going to front loop only, half double crochet in those same 2 stitches. Remember when we were going this way, it was the front loops. When we turn, now these are the front loops. So we yarn over again. We can just kind of use our fingers and our eyes here to pick out where that loop should be. And I even use my hook sometimes to pick it up. If you're having trouble with the angle, something that can be really helpful is using your yarn needle, sort of help find that loop for you right there. Open it up a little bit if needed. And you can use that sort of as a guide to help you get in there. Maybe pull it out of the way here. It can take a few tries. Like I say, I like to use my hook actually. There we go. Okay, so once you've got your hook through that loop, it is a little harder to find. You just have to take your time. Then we can yarn over and pull it through and make our half double crochet. We've got to do that one more time here on that very next one. Really go ahead and tug on your yarn here and find that loop. Yarn over, get under that loop right there in front of that stitch. It's the only one left. Yarn over and finish that half double crochet. So that was an example of crochet pleating, and I do have another video on crochet pleating on my channel using much smoother yarn. So that might be easier for you to see if you need another look at that technique. After we have finished all that, we do our repeat again. It starts again with half double crochet in the next 8 stitches. So you just want to look at our stitches, make sure we find that very next one, and start that repeat again. Half double crochet in the next 8, and then make another one of those pleats all the way around until you have a total of 102 stitches for round 18. When you make round 18 as instructed, you will finish with a set of pleats right before you get to the stitch marker. Rounds 19 through 21 are worked even again. We simply half double crochet in each stitch around. If you'd like a little bit of a shorter ghost skirt, you can certainly eliminate one of those rounds. Round 22 is where we finish off. You can see, because we've been working in a spiral here, we've got this little jog. So we want to gently decrease right here. For round 22, it's just a few stitches. We single crochet in the next stitch, which would be the first marked stitch there. And we don't need to move up our stitch marker again. Then we slip stitch in the next stitch. And then we're going to break our yarn and seamless join. So we need to pull up our scissors and cut our yarn. And then I'm simply going to pull up on that end, set my hook aside here where it won't roll away, put the yarn on my yarn needle. This is a Susan Bates finishing needle. Then I can see this is the stitch I slip stitched to, so I'm going to find the next stitch, insert my needle under both of those loops from the front to the back. Gently pull down on that loop there, and then send my needle right back into the center of the stitch it came out of. And when I do this, you can see it just gives a nice gradual decrease without any lumps or bumps. Then I can just weave in this end into my fabric as usual. Then it's time to add the inner rim. Now the inner rim of the body is added to help hold the ball or stuffing inside before you add the underbelly. So on the full-size squish, you're going to have a little bit more room to work into here, okay, quite a bit. But on our little guy, we should be able to see it too. We've got that last marked stitch, that first unused back loop only, way back when that we made in round 16. So we've still got our stitch marker there. And that marks where we're going to join to make this rim. So if you need to, you can pop the whole thing over like this, kind of like a little stocking cap, adjust it, whatever makes it easier for you to get started. Then we're going to go ahead and join to that marked stitch. And we're going to join with a half double crochet. So the way I like to do that is to actually go ahead and put a slip knot on my hook. There we are. I'm going to hold onto that tail end and yarn over like I would for a half double crochet. So we've got our active loop and our yarn over. And then I'm going to go right under that loop, that marked loop there. And I still want to be working from the right side, so sort of from the outside of our squish in here. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over, I'm going to pull down on that tail to make sure it faces the right direction here, and I'll just pull through all those loops, and now I've joined with a half double crochet. This is also known as a standing half double crochet, and again, I have a separate tutorial for this on my channel if you'd like to see it with smoother yarn. Now, we're not quite ready to start our repeat. Next, we need to half double crochet in the next 16 stitches. So again, we just want to use those unused loops from before. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, keep going. You don't need to hear me count to 16. After you've got 16 of those stitches made, then it's time to half double crochet 2 together. Now, half double crochet 2 together is pretty straightforward stitch, but I like to do it a little bit differently than the usual way. I find it gives a little bit better result, but you can use whichever method of half double crochet 2 together that you prefer. The way I like to do it is I yarn over and go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up my loop, and then rather than yarning over and going into the next stitch, as is usually recommended, I just go right into that next stitch and pull up my loop, and then yarn over and pull through 4 loops. When I do it this way, I'm pulling over through 4 loops rather than through 5, the standard way, so it's just a little bit smaller and more the size of a regular half double crochet. But again, you can do it however you prefer. After that, we do begin our repeat that takes us all the way around, and it's simply half double crochet in the next 17 stitches, then half double crochet 2 together. You'll use the beginning tail to sew closed the small gap at the beginning of this round. So I'll work my way around here, and we'll see you when we get back here to the end of round 1. Now, because I joined for this round, it's pretty easy to see this is the first stitch of the round. So I'm going to go ahead and make the first stitch here of round 2 before I show you how to close up this end. So I'm just going to go right into the top of that standing half double crochet there and put my first half double crochet for round 2 in there. Then I can go ahead and put my stitch marker right in that stitch. And then you're able to see that small gap I was talking about right there. Luckily, we've got this tail end right here. So when you go to weaving your ends, simply put that on your yarn needle, and you can take a little quick stitch right between those stitches to hold them together, and that will close it right back up. Then you can continue with round 2. Now, round 2 of the inner rim has one of those split repeats. So we've got our first half double crochet in there. We need 3 more for a total of 4. 1, 2, 3. Oops, didn't get under both of those top loops. We are working under both of those top loops again. Remember, we always do that unless it says differently. So there's our first 4 stitches. Then we half double crochet 2 together. So again, I'll yarn over and go into the next stitch, pull up a loop through the next stitch, and yarn over and pull through those 4 loops. Then we are able to begin our repeat for round 2. Half double crochet in the next 7, half double crochet 2 together, half double crochet in the next 7, half double crochet 2 together. What we've already been doing right here. You'll repeat that all the way around until 3 stitches are left before that marked stitch, and simply half double crochet in those last 3 stitches. So at the end of round 2, you should be down to 64 stitches. Round 3 of the inner rim of the body begins right with the repeat, and it's simply half double crochet 2 together, half double crochet in the next 6 stitches. Half double crochet 2 together, half double crochet in the next 6 stitches, all the way around for a total of 56 stitches. You've seen me do all those stitches, so I think you get the idea. You can also see on our little sample here how that inner rim is really pulling inwards. Round 4 is the last round of the inner rim of the belly, and much like round 22 before, it's the round where we simply decrease a little bit so we can get a nice finished edge. So we want to single crochet in the first stitch. There we go. And again, we don't need to put that stitch marker back in there because we're finishing off here. We won't need to come back to that. Then we slip stitch in the next stitch, and then break our yarn and seamless join as shown before to the next stitch. Then we'll want to set this aside and make the underbelly. Making the underbelly of the Ghost Squish is just as easy as making the outer body. In fact, the first 5 rounds are all the same. Round 6 is a little different. For that one, the repeat is half double crochet in the next 7 stitches, 2 half double crochet in the next, half double crochet in the next 7 stitches, 2 half double crochet in the next, then half double crochet in the next 8 stitches, and 2 half double crochets in the next. Then start over again. Half double crochet in the next 7, then 2, 7, then 2, then half double crochet in the next 8, then 2. That's our repeat for round 6, which brings us back up to 56 stitches, which, as you may recall, was the number of stitches we finished our inner rim with. The most important thing is that this stitch number matches. So if you're altering the pattern, or you've somehow ended up with 55 or 57 stitches, just make sure you've got the same number of stitches in round 6 of your underbelly. Round 7, we simply finish it off again. Single crochet in the next stitch, slip stitch in the stitch after that, and then seamless join in the final one. However, this time we want to leave a long tail for sewing. We're going to use this tail to sew the underbelly onto the inner rim of our outer body. So we want to make sure that we leave a tail long enough for sewing. There's a trick to this that I like to use. I simply take my tail here before I've cut it, and I wrap it around whatever it is I want to sew. This is the circumference, so that's what I need. I need to be able to get all the way around. And I will wrap around it 2 or 3 times. The shorter it is, the more likely I am to go ahead and do it 3 times, just to have a little extra here. Then I will go ahead and cut my yarn and know that I will have enough to make that seam. So before, I haven't made that seamless join yet, but now I can go ahead and make it. And it's going to be a little trickier because I'm working with this great big long tail, but we just want to take our time and pull it all the way through. Then we can put it on our needle, like so, and do our seamless join. So I'm just going to go ahead and go under that next stitch and pull through. And if you'd like, you can go right back into that one it came out of. Pull that through. And now we're ready to sew it onto the bottom. But we've got a couple of little things that we want to do first. The first thing you're going to want to do for your final Ghost Squish assembly is weave in your ends. In particular, you want to make sure that that magic circle at the beginning and the magic circle at the beginning of your underbelly both have their ends woven in really nicely. For now, on our little sample here, I'm just going to go ahead and tuck them inside. Then it's time to add the safety eyes. So you can kind of look at your squish, and I only made one of those pleats here, but decide which side you think looks a little bit best, and then you can decide on the placement of your eyes. I made them about 7 to 8 stitches apart, around rounds 12 to 13. But of course, the placement here is totally up to you. You just want to make sure it's above that inner rim, of course. So on our little sample here, I think I'll probably move it up a little bit higher. And then just eyeball it. You can count out those stitches in between, or just find the look that you like. Once you've got the placement for your safety eyes in, you can add the backing. If you're not familiar with safety eyes, you can see here it's a large, in this case, plastic eye with a shaft here. We just stick the shaft right through the fabric, whether it's crocheted or knit or even woven. And then on the back, we can add the second piece of each safety eye, which is these little guys right here. These are the backers. And once you push down and snap that into place, that safety eye is not coming out. I don't want to use my safety eyes here on my demo, but you can see just how easy they are to add. Then, of course, you can add that little bit of a smile if you want to right here with your scrap yarn. Then it's time for stuffing and sewing. Now it's time to insert the stuffing or pillow ball into the body. We want to make sure that we put it inside this inner rim. This is the kind of ball I used. You can see a lot bigger than our little demo here, but this is a 10-inch microbead pillow ball. I have linked to these where they're available on Amazon, in the pattern, and in the tutorial. I really like these because they give a nice round shape to my squish, and they just feel great to, well, squish. I always cut off the tag first because as the consumer, that's your right. But this is the kind of ball I prefer. You can also use a fiber-filled zipper ball. Those are available usually only in 12 inches though, so you need to take some of the stuffing out, or you can simply stuff it with polyfill or whatever you like to use. After you've got it stuffed and get that all in there, just take your time and get the ball stuffed right down in there. Then it's time to go ahead and sew the underbelly to that inner rim. So to do that, we're going to want to go ahead and grab our stitch markers. Now on our little demo here, I've actually stuffed it with some leftover scrap yarn to give us this nice shape so we can add our underbelly. So what I like to do is take my underbelly and really line it up stitch by stitch. I'm going to take a stitch marker and go through 1 stitch of the inner rim and 1 stitch of the underbelly. Then I'll count a few stitches away. We'll say, let's see, we've got 1 here. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Get a stitch marker in that one and do the same thing up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And really just take your time and pair up your stitches all the way around before you start sewing. Even though we should have the same number of stitches in the underbelly and the inner rim, it's just a lot easier if you go ahead and connect these first. It keeps us from accidentally getting too far off track. And when you're making your full-sized one, you may notice that underbelly rather, seems to have, although it has the same number of stitches, it may seem a lot smaller than that inner rim. That's totally normal and fine. We didn't quite get that effect here on our small demo. But on the full-size one, even if they look different, they've got the same number of stitches, match them up, and when you sew them together, it really will all come together. Once you've got all your stitch markers in place, if you'd like, you can go ahead and fold that skirt out of the way again. So we're working with just the inner rim and our underbelly here. And then we're simply going to match up those stitches. And we're going to be doing a whip stitch. So we go through one stitch of the inner rim and then one stitch of our underbelly. And I want to make sure to try and catch both of those loops here. There we are. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull that right on through. And then we just go to the next stitch. We go through that one and through that one. And this is the whip stitch. We simply match up those stitches all the way around. Anytime you get to one of those marked stitches, hopefully they will match up as well. I can tell I'm in the right spot. These two are lined up together, so I can just go ahead and get that stitch marker out of the way and continue to sew all the way around. So when you've gotten all the way around, sewing that together, you can simply weave in your ends and you'll be all done with your Ghost Squish. And that's how to crochet the Ghost Squish. Again, that's a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more great crochet.